The most insidious thing that's happened in housing in the last 20 years is private equity. And they have been doing it systematically for decades now.
You have the average American can't afford housing at these levels in today's environment.
In this video, I'm going to show you how they've been propagandizing us to make us believe that what they're doing for America's housing is a good idea.
Yeah, we're expanding. I mean, when you think about it, we have an incredible amount of demand.
But now we're seeing the repercussions of letting private equity run amok. They're ruining America's homes. So let's get into it. Imagine those fat cats sitting there 30 years ago wondering how they could take over America's housing, because anybody that had a regular job could have afforded a house. So do you know what their first step was? To not make it look too obvious to everybody, why don't we make a bunch of shell companies under our big umbrella, like Blackstone? Blackstone went ahead and bought Invitation Homes, so it didn't look like they were buying the houses. Their other company was buying the houses. And this year, they just bought out Tricon. You might remember Tricon from this 60 Minutes clip.
And if they want access to a single family home, which we think is incredibly important, this is the best way for them to obtain it. They would probably tell you that they don't necessarily desire to own a home.
Blackstone isn't the only one that does this. Vanguard does it, the Carlyle Group does it, and various other names. You see, they found themselves a cash cow after the last housing crash. When all of us were bailing all of these companies and banks out from their bad decisions, they were taking that relief and investing it back into the housing market. They knew that there wasn't going to be many housing starts after this. Many builders took a bath and decided they weren't going to build as many homes as they had in the past. And we've been on a decline of housing starts since then. That's why we have the shortage of supply we do now. And they capitalized on that. They are controlling many neighborhoods across the country, mostly in the Sun Belt, so they can control and dictate exactly what that market does. And it isn't just single family housing. They also do it with mobile home parks. They're doing it with condominiums. They're dabbling their little fingers into HOAs, HVAC systems, plumbing companies. At some point, all of us are going to be making the same check out to the same company. It all goes in one hand. Blackstone. Whatever happened to that game Monopoly? And I thought we weren't supposed to have monopolies in the United States. But let's go ahead and discover how else they're taking care of us and the housing market.
So far this year, investors who buy homes to flip or rent have made up 30% actually of purchases of both existing and newly built single-family homes.
One of my favorite things they always say is creating more housing opportunities for people when they create more rentals. They'll use words like, we're providing flexible leasing options for the workforce, so that way they're not tied down to a mortgage. Matter of fact, that guy from Tricon said that as well.
We're expanding. I mean, when you think about it, we have an incredible amount of demand for what we do. So, Leslie, in any given week, we might have 200 or 300 homes available.
He also said the American dream is to rent, not own. I don't know about that. You can give me your opinion on that. They get on these podcasts and they say this is really helping out renters, because what they're doing is they say that they're taking homes that are in bad shape, deplorable shape, and they're revitalizing neighborhoods because they were too expensive to fix up for people that actually lived in the area. So they're offering this house that they ended up repairing for rental. But what happens is, and you guys have seen this, is the rents have continued to go up.
According to new analysis of census data, renting in the burbs is surging so much, 203 suburbs across the country are now majority home renter rather than homeowner.
A lot of people that lived in that neighborhood for years and decades now have been priced out of their own neighborhoods. And we all know what happens with gentrification. Even though it looks pretty, a lot of the people that lived in that area can no longer afford it. Whether they live there with their own mortgage or not, it doesn't matter, because now their taxes have increased and so is their homeowner's insurance. So it isn't necessarily the best thing in the world when they over improve for an area to raise the rents so incredibly high. But they'll keep telling us it's a good idea. I just want to know what's going to happen when they're not going to have anybody to rent their houses. At some point, there's got to be a breaking point. In the next few months, I promise you, you're going to be seeing a lot more press talking about the positives of private equity in a lot out of our neighborhoods. They're going to be giving it as much of a positive spin as they can. They don't think you're smart enough to catch on to what they're doing. But I just want you to know, when they start coming into your community, I want you to start fighting back, show up to all those community meetings that they have about their apartments that are going to be affordable for the area. Sometimes they do these projects without a vote, but make sure that you've got a pulse on the ground of what's happening. Everybody wants to do everything on a federal level. Honestly, the best impact you're going to have for fighting against this kind of stuff is in your local community. These guys are not stupid. They've been using algorithms, and I'm sure you've seen this on the news.
They quote one Greystar employee telling a competitor that a property manager had declined to fully participate due to, quote, price-fixing laws. That competitor replied, price-fixing laws, huh? That's a new one. RealPage told NBC News they deny the DOJ's claims and plan to fight them.
That company, RealPage, has lots of different companies underneath them using their algorithm system prices for rent. All of these private equity firms are working with them in tangent to keep those rents elevated. Now, there are systems out there, even us real estate agents use, to gauge how much you should be charging for rent. But what these people were doing with private equity firms was they were kind of basically all getting together and fixing how much it's going to be. If Joe Jones Realty was on RealPage, they agreed that all 3-bedroom, 2-bath houses were going to be $1,600. And then the new company, Alice Properties, said that it was going to be $1,600. Well, they're with RealPage, so they're going to make it $1,600. They actually had to agree to those prices. They got themselves in hot water. Who knows if it's going to be a slap on the wrist? There doesn't seem to be any kind of recourse or any kind of money coming back to the people that have been overcharged, but at least they got caught. Doesn't mean it's not going to happen again, but we really have to keep an eye on things because it got way out of control during the pandemic.
Blackstone, one of the best plays in the golden age of private credit. What a title there. The bank saying Blackstone looks compelling globally and is well positioned for growth. Shares are up right now over 1%. And
I know you know that private equity has basically unlimited funds, but I want you to know that a lot of us don't realize that we're funding a lot of their single family buying in things like REITs. We'll invest a little bit, I can own a portion of a house through my REIT and I can get some money back on it. I don't have to own the whole thing, I don't have to manage it. Sounded really great. But that's when I realized they were funding all their purchases for mobile home park and single family homes. It was all of those little tiny investments that all of us have made has helped them take over whole entire neighborhoods.
The black dots he marked on the map are all single family homes owned by just one Texas-based company.
Stunning that one company owns all of these properties.
That company is Invitation Homes.
And I don't blame you. I mean, if you're with like Charles Schwab, a lot of you have your pensions with them and they have those REITs. It helps fund your pensions. I get it. At one time, they said they only owned 1% of the housing market. Now that is not true. What they claim that they own now is at 1.8%. And it's more likely it's probably 2.5%. And like I said earlier, it's not just sprinkled across the United States. It's in selective neighborhoods across each area. They know exactly what they're doing. So that way they corner the market. They know what they're doing. But that's not the only way they're going to try to screw us. Let me talk about zoning, because that's a whole new ball of wax. In the last 5 years, there's been an incredible amount of interest of people putting in ADUs in their backyard, accessory dwelling units. And the problem that a lot of people are running into is zoning regulations.
And the city of San Diego is up for debate right now as council members consider a plan to greatly restrict the number of ADUs people can build on their property.
This is one of those things that as our parents age in place, it's going to be something that a lot more people are going to be looking for. And these private equity firms are going to work their tail off to make sure that those zoning laws don't allow for you to have ADUs or tiny homes behind your house. They do not want you to take care of your aging family in your backyard. They're going to make sure that those community boards in your area have lots of people that are in opposition. They may not even live in the area. And this is very common that you get somebody that comes up to the speaker to talk about these ADUs and legalizing them in your specific town. And you have a very well-spoken person that will say that they are a member of your community saying how much they don't want it. And they give all of their reasons. But I guarantee you, you need to see their driver's license and know exactly where they actually come from. Because a lot of times they're not even from your area. They're going to work their tails off, these private equity firms, to make sure that ADUs don't go in the backyard. They want the elderly to be in an assisted living so they get the money from that because, private equity is there right now. They're investing like crazy. I'm telling you, it's right around the corner. I'm sure you've seen it in your areas already. We just got to take our blinders off.
Between 2019 and 2020, single-family build-for-rent construction increased by 27%. And big money private equity firms are pumping billions into buying or building suburban homes for rent.
Have you seen those houses that are build to rent? You're like, oh, these houses are great. They're small. This is a first-time home buyer. I could probably afford that. And then you find out they're build to rent. Well, this is one of those things that private equity loves to do, is say that, because, the lack of building in your town, they're doing the favor by building these houses. They'll gaslight the hell out of you.
So we have this huge group of individuals that are renters by choice. If you look at really what our product delivers to them, it's a totally different concept that anybody's ever seen before.
Are these homes generally rent to own homes, or if people want home ownership, do they have to leave, kind of pursue that elsewhere?
They have to pursue that elsewhere.
And a lot of times, these private equity firms are given tax credits to build these more affordable homes in your area, even though they are for rent. Matter of fact, Blackstone was just given like 76,000 houses to build for low-income families. There it is again. Don't you feel saved by this company? I mean, I feel like they're really doing good for us. Insert sarcasm. Their marketing spin goes on and on and on. They say that they are a necessary player into the housing market. They say that they saved us after the 2008 housing crash because they took these distressed properties and helped all of these people would get out of their homes and made them be able to move on with their life because they were such good people to take over these homes. And it is going to continue unless we stop it. But I don't believe that the American dream is lost. Everybody loves to vote nationally, and I hate to get on my high horse, oh, go vote. I'm telling you, in these local elections, it's going to make the biggest difference in your local area. Go to them. Make sure that they are supportive of building generational wealth, not just building wealth for the bigwigs. Blackstone, Carlyle Group, Invitation Homes, Tricon Homes. The list goes on and on and on. But if you have some solutions to stop private equity from doing exactly what they've been doing for the last 2 decades, let me know in the comments section below. And to watch more videos about the affordability crisis here in the United States, you're going to want to watch these videos right here. My name is Kristina Smallhorn, your real estate whisperer. And I tell you all this because everybody deserves an affordable home, except for Blackstone. They don't need any more affordable homes.